the Republicans keep saying that President Obama is overregulating. In fact, they say that he has, quote, given a tsunami of regulations. Several different Republicans have given that quote. And I thought, wow, there must be a lot of regulations. You know, and then Representative Darrell Issa, he's doing government oversight, so he must know what he's talking about. He said the regulations have been, quote, been piling up. So there's a tsunami and they're piling up. Oh my God, look at all these regulations. So I thought President Obama must be overregulating. He must be doing regulation more than any other president, right? So I found it curious that I saw this Bloomberg article. And in fact, you know what? It turns out, look at this. President Obama has proposed 613 new federal rules and regulations. A tsunami. So how many did George Bush, I wonder, propose in the same time period in his first term? 643. That would be higher than 613. Well, what happened to the tsunami? Turns out Bush did more regulations than Obama. Well, this is what happens. And it's funny because you see the polling too. Back in 1993 under Clinton and now today, where when you ask small business owners, that's where it spikes. They say, oh, it's overregulation. Oh my God. Now the actual numbers don't back it up. But the reason that the polling spikes is because every time a Democrat gets into office, that's when the Republicans start screaming their heads off. Regulation, too much regulation. Oh, the Democrats killing us. Now, Bush did more. Who cares? Okay. But look, they have a secondary argument. So let's be fair. They say, look at the overall cost of those regulations. Okay, that's definitely fair. And to be fair, President Obama, his costs range, according to the best nonpartisan estimates, $7 billion to $11 billion. Now, look, that's a cost, for example, if you're going to not pollute a stream next to your plant, you got to spend some money to make sure you're not doing that pollution, filters, et cetera, et cetera. That cost is real. Now, what they don't tell you is the savings from that. So, for example, if people downstream don't die, you have saved a lot of money because the people that they work for example, won't have to deal with as many sick days. They won't have to do new training if the person is passed away and they bring in a new employee, yada, yada, yada. And of course, there's cost to us, American families, on regulation. But look, to give you another sense of it, for example, if the oil drilling regulations that they put into place cost industry $180 million. Now, that sounds like a lot, right? But if you do a blowout, as happened with BP, that costs $16.3 billion, okay? So now, you see how regulation actually can save you money. In fact, it can save the companies money, because BP eventually had to pay that. But at least President Obama is spending a record amount in regulation, right? Well, not quite sure. When you look at the average for the years of 1981 to 2008, the average is $6.9 billion a year in regulation in costs, okay? So President Obama is over that, according to the best estimates, $7 to $11 billion. But is it a record? No, it turns out the record was in 1992. It was $20.9 billion. Oh, right. George H.W. Bush was president when we broke the record for how much we spent on regulations. Who came in second? A guy by the name of Ronald Reagan. In 1988, we paid $16 billion in costs for regulation under Ronald Reagan. That is, by some estimates, twice as costly as anything under President Obama. So when you hear that he's breaking records and that it costs so much and that there are so many new rules, it is not true. As always,